I think there is something very interesting in what happened yesterday, although I understand your frustration, and I'm sorry for that, but I'm frustrated too, I must say, very much. I think there was really, among all the stories, let's say the 5 hints, there was yesterday, there was 2 tracks for me. One was being part of something, like clandestine or hobo. It's as if the subject was already inside this movement of clandestinity, or being a hobo, or being already in a movement. That's what I say. You are transported into something, you are part of something. And the position of the guy waiting for the ship, or this guy at night in his apartment, seeing the light of the commuting trains, and he could watch the train passing by, and 1, 2, 3 tracks, and imagining. It's not a voyeur, but is already in a position where he could turn his back to it, close his curtain, his glass curtain, or really watch and maybe see clandestine workers crossing the tracks, whatever, but he is in the position not of being inside, but being outside watching. The same with your project, was in between. Your project was also, it's not a project, it's what you mentioned,
a moment, yeah.
Was to be inside, but being surprised by something happening outside, and therefore being attracted by the outside, so it was like both. It could be someone in clandestinity being afraid by seeing on the next track someone watching,
recognizing
him, So I thought there was like 2 separate things, but in the end they could really. So what would you prefer? We decide to start on one of the situation and try to open the other one, or each one wants to work separately?
I think to start we would take the 2 words, we had the clandestinity and then the whole...
The watcher?
The watcher, and then we just take those 2 words, put them in the top, and then we just open it up to say, association, we just write whatever on both, and then from what we've written, we can see what we feel about those 2 bits.
And make connections.
Yeah, I think
tie it together in some way.
And find something then that could be practiced.
An attempt to do something, Making a film is an attempt, is something I propose to myself, you know what I mean? So my experience, you can read it when you ask me a question and I answer you, but to come here always ready to answer your question is a bit, I don't know, I felt it was a bit fake. I think so let's work on that, and don't be afraid to ask me questions, and if there is a moment where you feel we are unstable, that we are running on empty for 1 hour, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. Consider with me, I'm not here to fill the empty space. I'm here to show you what I do with my empty spaces, but there is a big difference. All right?
So who wants to be writing?
I can read.
You want to write?
So the way I put those up there
Who
is
wants to?
to put a line
Who wants to?
that you write out.
So Nicholas is going to.
Yeah, like a web, so that they can also be
Me,
connected
I
to each
can.
other.
Oh, come on. Yeah. So,
Thank you, Nicholas.
Yeah.
there was this. In here, I would remember 3 possible directions. Huh? Was, you will tell me if it's okay. One came at the very beginning for Fernando Pessoa poetry is a guy standing alone at dawn in this harbor and watching in the distance a ship coming in and not expecting someone, just being happy to watch this movement of coming in, because feeling that this movement will bring all the entire world inside, huh? As if all the way the shore and countries were coming in the trail of the ship to him. This is the poem. But the position of the watcher, of this guy waiting alone, could be also someone waiting for someone, a policeman checking, or a guy for the custom checking for clandestine people in a boat. Huh? That's it. The second one I remember was your proposal of being somewhere in an apartment in a big city in USA at night, hearing a commuting train passing by, because the loft is not far from the tracks, and you could see first the light in your room of the train passing by, but then as we get on this perception, you could describe that from that window of yours, you could see people in the train, 2 trains side by side, 1 train coming, and I tell you, maybe the reverse is possible too. There is someone in the train that knows that you don't sleep at night, and there is a man lonely in that loft and knows when it's dark that you might be sleeping, might be away. You see what I mean? So there was like 2 possible gaze. And the third was your proposition of being inside a train. And your proposition, I think, could go either
I think so.
side. And on the next track, a train is stopping, and you can see someone, or recognize someone, or be interested in watching inside the other carriage, even though you know no one and you will recognize no one. Or somebody feeling someone is watching you, and you turn your head and there is someone from the other carriage looking at you. Huh?
Yes.
Here,
Do you want me to write these?
let's speak, and then we will. Here, if I remember well, the first time this was mentioned was by you. I remember you speak about people in train that were hiding, and then it knocked on your hobo thing, you know. I think there was a connection there of traveling as a way of living, taking trains, hitchhiking or whatever, like a way of free, and yet not in a sort of clandestinity to be free, as opposed to a clandestinity that is you don't have the choice because you have no paper, no immigration paper, and it's not a choice of life. Is someone trying to get a job inside a country where he's not welcome and he has to hide.
And some homeless people are homeless by choice because they're hiding from whatever happened in the past.
Sure.
And other people because they're free, and some people because they're just addicts or schizophrenic, and they just can't function and have been forced into it.
Yeah.
But
So, this is what I remember of yesterday. If you have, if I forget something, you tell me. If there was something else, and maybe you can. You start. So, let's say there is
Well, he's alone.
a lonely person.
I think the watcher needs to be alone, because if he's with somebody, then he's not really
Alone.
Right.
Yeah.
So he needs to be alone.
Alone.
What about another kind of watcher who is, I mean, a totally different image of somebody who's, as close to the outside the train, but as close to the train as possible, dangerously maybe close, and trying to, I don't know, experience the violence of the train or the speed of the train. Not by throwing themselves on the tracks, but by being as close as possible to
we can also play with that because the only train here is actually very slow. And
Here in,
So
and
actually,
here,
it's like a
in
vicarious sort of thing. Like he's trying to experience the train. but
Yeah, imagine lying
vicariously.
down as close to the train as you can, and maybe seeing it up, from below or upside down, or
Mhm.
that kind of. I don't know.
I mean,
But let me make sure I understand the why watching from below, because that watcher is investigating, or just for the pleasure of watching a train from below, or
Yeah, I don't know, but the fascination, pleasure, but also maybe a danger, a thrill-seeking, I don't know, or a.
what is the?
So I don't know. I'm just proposing
No.
another kind of.
I understand, but I just to make it more, this watcher is someone who is intrigued with curiosity,
Or is it a way to experience
or
the void?
expecting.
Yeah, I guess I was proposing a different, maybe it's a different character, a different kind of watcher, who's not the one who's from a distance, people floating by, interested in the narrative, but
No, it's
somebody-
not me. Like I'm watching you, and I noticed you are probably this morning you thought you were going to. No, I understand.
in a snowstorm.
But it's like a neighboring interest. It's an
Neighboring.
interest
Neighbors.
by being close.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's vicarious. It's
Well, no, I'm talking
Trying
about
to
not
understand
vicarious. I'm talking about
experience.
some other kind of experience in training which is so direct and powerful because you're right there, as close as you can be to it. I'm trying to get just.
But I mean, this person you described,
Yeah.
close, I think is inside. I don't think this person is outside. I don't know why, because if you are outside, unless you are hung by some kind of attachment to the roof, or I don't know, it's like an action movie,
Oh, except for I'm imagining they're just watching, just being there. I don't know if they're
But
running.
being where?
I don't know if they're
On the roof?
No,
Or
just
inside?
outside near it. Maybe lying.
Outside?
Yeah, lying down on next to the train, next to the track.
With
If
the
there's
train,
a fire
if the train is running, it's a fraction, it's not long gaze.
No, it's really.
Who missed their train?
No, let me finish, excuse me. You're lying down,
Yeah.
And the train is passing by?
Yeah, you're right next to it. And I guess I'm thinking too.
But then it doesn't last long.
Oh, they can last for long. Well, depending what kind of train. Okay, we're talking about.
We're talking
No,
about
you
the
mean-
freight
You
train
mean the train
in where she
if
lives goes on
the train
forever.
has 30 carriage, must last long,
Yeah.
but it's the you're gazing at a train going by. It can last a few minutes because it's a very long train. But then in that situation, it's hard to concentrate of watching the people inside. It's
Yeah,
the
no.
train
It's
in
not the
itself.
people,
Yeah,
it's
no.
the train.
In that case, yeah, I wasn't
Yeah,
really
no,
interested
I
in the
understand.
people, but more in the noise and the speed.
Yeah, so it's
and
like Denis really outside and is watching the train as a movement.
Like the speed, the speed.
What I
Yeah.
got from that is like a train that goes to the countryside every day, and somebody walks out through a field, walks right up to it, and gets as close as they physically can every day,
Yeah.
and it's like this ritual of experiencing
Yeah.
the danger, being that close to something that's not, it's from your world, but it's also not from your world.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I think I
So
understand.
it's almost like getting closer every day,
Yeah, maybe.
as if you were gambling
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
close as you can be,
Yeah.
or cross just before,
Yeah.
or
Mhm.
Yeah,
something.
for example.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That
that's,
can
So
also
it's like sort of gambling
Yeah.
thing.
yeah.
that can also
Dangerous
have something to do
gambling
with
thing.
clandestinity.
Yeah, trying to change one's,
Mhm.
physical reality or
Risk.
one's-
Understanding
Yeah.
the risk or something.
and to change
Well,
your subjective experience.
And
Yeah.
then
by-
also
by an
with what
encounter.
Jared just said, with this this idea of ritual and coming up to this train that's passing through an empty landscape, then you also have this idea of the emptiness that you are maybe experiencing,
Mhm.
and the intersection that you can have with what's coming from
Someplace
far away,
else.
that
Yeah.
you can take the speed and that it enters you in a way that transforms
Yeah.
that moment of that day to
Well, even
be
like-
about something that is what you imagine from far away.
But even like the speed of the train, but then like it's probably happened to everybody at some point. But you're in your car and then you go up to train, and the train's right there, and you're just sitting there waiting for the train to pass by, and you're just sitting there for like 10 minutes, and you can't do anything, and you have to be somewhere, but the train is in your way.
Yeah,
Like you're powerless over that situation.
and you have to wait.
Yeah,
I
you
don't
just
see like that though, 'cause if we've got the clandestinity and the watcher and sort of like this risk taking, it almost seems to me like, a person in a cloak who's hiding, and wants to be clandestine, but also wants to experience the world. And so there's this wall of the train and the speed where they come up to it and try to experience it as close as they can, but they also can't be inside the train, they can't be there. So they come up, they take the risk, but then they go off and they try to, because
Well, to be very realistic, I think it is true that in your proposal, for me, that risk is a risk of experiencing. It means that you might go even to risk your own life to experience something.
Yeah.
The risk there, I think, would be a different type of risk.
Yeah.
It's a risk maybe to be seen, the risk to try to climb in a train, knowing that the train slows down at this particular
Band or something.
bend, trying to get in, which is more and more difficult, but anyway, let's say trying to get in and maybe get somewhere. Huh?
This doesn't fit in this world, I don't think, but I have a story where a friend of mine from high school was train hopping, and she wanted to jump on the train, and she got her legs cut off.
Oh my God.
And so, that's an interesting image, but it doesn't really fit in this world.
No, but it's,
Yes.
yes,
Yeah.
it is. But this, I think, is almost
Like it,
part of this train hopping. Huh?
yeah.
It's something that you do, and at a certain time you, like the kid in Lisboa,
Hanging out.
yeah, it's so train hopping is to get as close as possible as a strong danger.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah.
This is here. The danger is in the clandestinity itself.
Yeah.
That you might be rejected over the border, that you might be in jail, that you might be in some countries shut down. Huh? Like we were mentioning last night in Arizona, this little kid shut down on the border
This
with
remembers me,
Mexico.
well, not that perhaps doesn't really fit, but these places, that are like non-places where these people are kept. Well, when they
No
try
man's land.
when they try to go to England, or I don't know, from France to England, and they're kept in these areas like near the airport. I don't know where exactly.
It's like no man's space, huh?
Yeah.
Calais, yeah.
It's an interesting.
In Calais, because they destroyed the warehouse where they used to be kept, with some people helping them. Suddenly, when the police decide to destroy this warehouse, they start camping in the forest, and the forest is now called the jungle of Calais. So only the doctor, people taking care of them are going there.
But are there imprisonment? Yes.
No, they are in the jungle camping, but the jungle in Calais is a small forest, you know.
Yeah.
Sounds kind of like a prison to me.
No, no, yeah, but they are not in a. It's a prison, but
No, I said imprisoned. Perhaps this doesn't work.
no, there is no
There is no fair.
bar, but no, there is no
okay.
fence. They are hiding
Oh, okay.
It's
They're hiding.
camps.
Okay.
in
Intense.
with plastic bags
Yeah.
and in that small piece of forest that has nothing to do with the jungle because it's in north of France. That is now called the jungle
Of Calais.
by the people who help them, like doctors, you know, social assistant would go there with food and
Yeah.
stuff. But now they could feel in prison, and each night they try to reach the trucks where the trucks are parked, to get under the trucks that are going to be loaded on the train going to England, because they can't get in the train. So they can get on trucks that are going to be loaded on the carriage.
Yeah.
You know? Maybe sometimes they pay a guy and they can get inside the truck. But most of the time they go under. And then if they are arrested, if the train is searched and they are found before the train is going across the tunnel, and they are arrested, and they will go in jail for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and then back to the jungle.
Yeah.
So, free of getting as close as possible to the train, that's it. And here, is there a risk of being hit, of trying to grabbing a truck, or what, there is a risk to be killed and like hopping, but it's just for trying to get somewhere. So there is a risk here too.
Yeah.
I think what Jamie was getting at, and also you putting risk over there, is pointing out is that the concepts of clandestinity and watching are essentially the same in terms of how they function associatively, and that's why something like risk has a relation of meaning for both sides. So I think if, while this does limit us to conceive of it this way, I think if we are clear about it and we understand that pretty much any term we apply to one side is going to have some relevance to the other, and how we differentiate those terms is really going to determine what this project is. And
I agree completely, because the watcher could be a clandestine, afraid of being caught, you know, but it's not the same look. I think this is someone who is watching, let's say is allowed to watch and can be seen watching. In a way, this person could be standing there and watch. And now, some person are watching to protect themselves, but they are also hidden. They can't watch freely, you know. So it's not completely the same, exactly the same here and here, I think. But you can always tell me that if this is a policeman, he can hide also to watch someone, not to be seen. It's true, but it's not, I don't think physically, it's not the same. And probably, if you were writing a script about it, you would not use the same words.
I think ultimately I'm speaking linguistically.
Yeah.
I know nothing about linguistics. It just seems to me that there's some relationship between these.
Sure. That's why we split them, because we had a sort of, we realized yesterday that it was like a mirror effect on, it was, like I said yesterday, there was an idea of immobility and an idea of movement. We could, instead of choosing the watcher and the clandestinity, we got to static and moving, you know?
Dialectic.
Let's avoid
Category.
dialectic or not, it's where we are at, you know? I could say, for me to be here is dialectic, you know? I could be at home, you know what I mean? You see that if we go into that, then we're going to stop very fast, I guess. There won't be no progression. I don't think we will progress if we are struggling with the word and not asking the word what message they send us. That's what is important. No, don't you think? In a way, we were most of us thinking this was a static place. Oh, I'm sorry, I think I forgot to. I'm sorry. Hello? Allô? Oui. Bon, je t'embrasse, Elisabeth. Excuse-moi. Someone who made a mistake. Bon, you see what I mean? If you imagine there is a sort of immobility, even when you describe this at the beginning, you say lying down, it was not running behind a train, you know?
That's true.
Even train hopping is a sort of you there and you know? And this is maybe more, you cannot stay long in the same place. You have to move all the time. No?
Yeah,
Maybe.
the clandestine, even in the word, has a fragility. I mean, just in the
Fragility, yes.
sound
I
of the
agree.
word,
Fragility.
and then with the watcher,
And
you
on
have
the move, fragility, and
Oh, I was just going
couldn't
to
stay
say,
alone in the same place.
yes, for sure. But then also the watcher, also just the word, the sound, has I don't know how to say, is a bit harder, a bit more
Fragility and movement.
Transience, yeah. Movement.
transience.
Yeah.
Transience. Yeah.
It's like,
Sorry, excuse me. I was not hearing. Excuse me.
Yes. Oh, hello. Okay. There's a spider, but it's okay. Yeah. So fragility and this kind of transience, and then for the watcher also just the sound of the word has this I don't know, almost like a gravel, like a hardness to it. It has more concreteness and more power also. Like it has more, I want to say almost aggression, but it's not, that's a bit too much.
It's the difference between the German and the French influence on English.
It is, but this is why I'm saying when you say, in the break when you said, oh, it's all the same word, I said it's really not, because you have embedded just in the word, you have a sensation, right? And so
I would
I
almost
see.
call it cold. It's cold, but it's wise. It's sort of like it's sort of, you know, it's aggressive, but it's also wise and sort of patient. It's not.
A lot of it. The watcher, for instance, if I wanted to translate in French, I could use a few words. It could be a guy, un guetteur. It could be un gardien. It could be un observateur. It could be un espion. And in English, you could say exactly the same thing. But for instance, a guy like that on a summer beach, on his little podium, watching for children not to get drowned. In the west of France, southwest, the ocean, and it's only sand, there is no rocks, no cliff, and these dunes are moving, so there are very dangerous currents in the ocean, but it's sandy and beautiful, so many people go there to swim and they are drowned. So there are watchers. Every 500 meters there are guys and women watching, you know, to save people. So they are, but I agree with you that the first reaction to the word is someone is watching, so it's intruding into, his gaze is intruding into something private, or, you know?
Well, it also for me, it always feels very significant, the exact word that you choose. And yes, of course, there are many different ways to say, like you said, there are many different ways to talk about a watcher, and many different pieces of language to use, but this is the one that we chose for some reason, and I follow that. That's just how I operate. And for the same with clandestine, this can also have not a fragility. It can be a word that is used related to somebody who
This
is
is what you
spy.
were saying before.
Yeah.
You were saying that there was a possibility to exchange, but I think
It's true, but we chose these specific words for some reason, maybe for no reason. But this is what I'm following. It's like we chose the watcher that has this bit.
give me, for instance, I choose, I utter those words, maybe because it was an easy way to say, oh, okay, there is a guy watching a ship coming in, and there is someone watching train, is inside his home, he's watching trains, but there is maybe another point of view of a guy or a woman or a group of persons hiding in movement, you know. So, but as I say, I agree with you. This person should watch to protect the clandestinity of the group. let's say people are hiding somewhere in the jungle of Calais. I'm sure by night there is a guy who doesn't sleep, or a woman, or two guys, and they watch if the police is not coming. You know? So maybe the word is awkward. Maybe the word offer many angles. Maybe we should use them.
Yeah, for sure.
Because
Just a way to
which
think.
other word we would have used otherwise?
Gazer. Someone who gazes. Seems kind of passive.
A gazer?
Yeah.
Because you're just gazing and not watching. Watching is
Observer.
tends to be more like
Observer?
Yeah, so.
intent, active. Gazing, you're just gazing.
So, for you, the watcher is now becoming a lookout for. Is that what you were saying? Like it's a new take?
No, I mean, for me, I agree that the watcher as, in itself, in the sound of itself, something that could be intrusive or aggressive. But also, if he is watching to protect my life or to protect the security of people I care for, then suddenly he's watching for protection, for the protection of people who are fragile, who are hiding.
Yeah. That's interesting.
Yeah. As well as it could be watching to find them.
No, to protect them.
Yeah.
So now,
I think it would be interesting not to know. I think it would be interesting to sort of have the clandestine and then the watcher and sort of know that someone was hiding and someone was watching them, but to not know.
Their intention.
Right.
Yeah.
yeah. And now, do you think there is something interesting, even though we are agree we could put the watcher there and, you know, move. Do you think now there is something interesting to start with, to be static, the first thing, or already on the move? Let's say,
Who are we starting with?
are we there, watching a train passing by, or waiting to hope, to jump, or for any reason, clandestinity or just a risk, or for police reasons, spying reason, or are we already inside the train moving? Are we static or moving? Maybe this is also a way to choose where we start.
In clandestinity, also might be in darkness. I don't know. Makes me think if you're hidden, you might not have any view. You might start with blackness. I mean,
Yeah, but maybe we should, I'm sure, light and darkness, shadow and light we will take after, but now let's go to immobility or movement.
I think we can do both, and I think that the watcher, the way that I would see it is that the frame would start with the watcher that would be reaching sort of towards the camera, but immobile, and then as they're reaching, they're actually reaching out because the train is coming, and they're trying to get their hand as close to the train as it comes. So it starts off with the frame moving towards with something immobile, and then all of a sudden there's the blur going by as they try to touch it. And then when the train is passed, they're stuck there and they take their hand away. So they are immobile, but then the movement of the train sort of, it cuts them off.
I like
Can I say something?
Yes.
No?
Yeah, please.
For me, maybe I'm completely wrong. I have the feeling that being in that position, even if the train is very long, will not take us somewhere, unless we had to eat a fiction. But now if we decide, the watcher, whether it's a watcher protecting clandestine or searching, spying on people or looking for people, if we decide we cut down 50% of choice and decide watcher and hiding persons are already in the train, in moving, because that could be also, instead of being outside the train and inside the train, we can decide all this could be in a train.
Mm-hmm.
Even the risk.
Mm-hmm.
Even in the train you can see someone trying to jump, you know. I think all this we could decide, we could split, some are in movement, some are static, but we could also decide both. All this is moving in a train. In a train or in 2 or 3 trains, not only one, but not from that guy waiting on the key, but already in the movement. So there is a duration, a probability of time that for me is less obvious in the someone, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yes, you can be immobile.
And you can be static
And
inside
movement.
a moving
Yes,
train.
exactly, you can be immobile.
Yeah, that's why I would suggest, let's forget outside the train, let's put everything inside. And it doesn't keep us away from that guy in his loft, seeing the train passing by.
Or people inside the train seeing the loft.
Exactly, you know. So if we decide we are already in the train, or in trains, because maybe we need more than one. No, because already with her we have 2. We are static in the move. No, don't you think it's interesting? Or
Yeah, it could be.
Yeah, I
Could
think
be
it's
interesting.
For some reason, I'm reminded of, it was a video about security guards in art museums and how they stood there and all the experiences that were going on. It's famous, I can't remember what it is, but it's like in the early 90s.
Andrea Fraser?
It might be, yeah. But it was the security guards and all the people who come into the museums and talk about the art and do this stuff, and they're just the person that stands there and doesn't, they have a different relationship to the art or the people coming through. It was just kind of interesting. And for some reason I'm getting somebody on the train whose job is to be there, but it's not really connected, but they have a completely different relationship to all these things going on. I think that's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Is that clear?
yeah, very
it's
much.
good.
Okay.
Like the guy, like some guy was working for the train company and inside the train, and has a different relation with luggage, with
Or the person who delivers the food, or the little food
children,
cart or something like that.
and class also.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Because checking that, as you say, someone is traveling first class with a ticket that is not first class is also something. Or someone traveling with no ticket at all.
Yeah.
Because that you can do.
Yeah.
It's difficult to open a train. It's difficult to get inside the train while running today, because now they have those locks, you know.
Yeah.
But you can still enter a train with no ticket.
Yeah.
And when you see the guy, you get into the toilet, you lock the door, and
You speak in another language, pretend you can't communicate or understand,
Sure.
just to avoid getting expelled from train or ticketed or arrested. Maybe just pay them, pretend you
Sometimes,
didn't know what was going on.
yeah. If I don't want to deal with the person coming to take tickets, and even if I have a ticket but they haven't taken my ticket, you just act like you belong there, and then they don't. They assume that they've already gone through and checked.
Yeah.
If you,
Yeah,
if you can
yeah,
act like you, or
Hello.
Oh, so you can save the ticket for later.
yeah. Well, I don't do that, but I just don't want to go through the hassle, so I just act like they already took my ticket.
Here in Europe,
That's true.
Yeah.
they put the time on the ticket, at least here in Switzerland,
Yeah.
and they put the information about where you.
They never checked my ticket the whole time. When I in Switzerland, I just sat there and I asked if it was going to Visp, but they didn't actually check my ticket. I just acted like I had already talked to them, I think, and they never.
It worked.
Yeah.
And I was going to this
So you can be so
They check my
advanced
ticket.
that
Yeah.
way.
in Lausanne, and then at each station,
Yeah.
they will come in the carriage, and they will wave to me as they recognize me. You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
It was fun because I thought, it was almost like,
I came in from Italy on the train, and they never asked me for my ticket either.
Yeah.
They just kept asking me my nationality.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Ah, yes?
But they didn't ask to see my passport.
The
They
Italians
just wanted.
or the Swiss?
I think we were still on the Italian side.
Yeah.
And so they're like, nationalità, and then, Italian.
you could be from Tunisia. Or,
Right.
Yeah.
But they never asked to see my passport or anything. They just wanted to know.
The border controls in Italy are significantly different than in Switzerland. And,
But it's all Schengen area, so I didn't really. I guess they
It's
were
all
trying Schengen.
oh yeah.
But I guess
Yes.
they were looking more for drugs or things like that were being transited than anything else, because they never asked for that.
Well, I mean,
Well, it's
this-
also EU, and you're traveling within the EU,
Right.
so.
I mean, I think the presumption is that you have a skin color and look that could be outside of Schengen. And because of that, they're like, well then, there's a possibility here. And let's exploit it. I mean, my experience with the Italian border is like just straight racism. Everything was held up because like a very wealthy black man and a very wealthy black woman, clearly from Africa, were having everything taken out of their bags. And it's like, and everybody else was, I mean, it was like, it took like an hour. It was ridiculous.
But if I may add something, maybe it's out of subject. The case to compare Italian border and Swiss border is a little bit delicate because Italy has no border with the Mediterranean Sea, and it's a lot of boats
Yeah.
coming
Yeah.
from Libya, from Tunisia,
Yeah.
from Egypt, from Africa.
Mhm.
Therefore, in the south of Italy, you had all those camps with people who, in a way, before they are returned, sent back to Libya or whatever, they try to escape by trucks, by paying trucks to travel out inside, by train sometimes, As Switzerland is well protected in a way and has less, but Switzerland is very well protected. In a way, it's more easy to find a job in Italy when you come from Tunisia or Africa, even if there is racism, than in Switzerland, where they're very well protected for clandestinity. It's not easy in Switzerland. So I will think it's because of the openness of Italy that there is a reaction.
Interestingly enough, in the circumstance that I'm describing in Milan, because of the closedness of Italy, when I then left the airport on a bus and entered Switzerland, there was no border control. There was no stop. We just came into Switzerland.
Yeah.
And Switzerland basically can handle that because everything else within Switzerland is so tightly controlled
Yeah.
Mhm.
that you can't transfer money, you can't
Yeah.
leave, you can't stay, you can't do anything without being monitored in some way. And it's interesting that they're just using Italy as, and they're like, give these guys a break for, let them like get a few hours off or the afternoon off, and the bus just comes in. I mean, it wasn't a coincidence. And anyway,
Mhm.
just responding to
And Switzerland is also expensive, so it's got a way of keeping you out. You can't just come here and live on the dole. Like, there's a lot of institutions in place, and it's expensive, and they keep track of everything. So it's a pretty regulated place. Seems like.
And that protection is also to be not inside Euro zone. So it's a very strong protection.
Yeah.
Yes.
What is it? It's European. What do they consider it?
Economic community,
Community,
but
yeah.
not EU.
But not EU. That's right.
Mm-hmm.
So, I would like to go back there a little bit, if you don't mind,
Mm-hmm.
because of course we are now speaking about being judged by the look, maybe being a foreigner, or maybe having no paper, no right to be there. Now, let's take the completely different thing of someone who has the right to be there, or not the right to be there, but is gambling with
Being alive.
Life?
life. Yeah?
Or what if somebody, somebody who was a watcher is suddenly challenged with maybe helping somebody who's hiding, and pulled into their drama, and they have a choice whether to, risk themselves by helping them or getting involved somehow or not.
Like the Bollywood film.
Like
Like the Bollywood
What
film.
was that?
Well, you said that the rich guy is drawn into the web of the beautiful terrorist, and he's the watcher, getting snared
He was
by
drawn
the
in.
clandestine hot terrorist.
what is it again?
The
The
film
Bollywood
clip
that
that you
was
played
created.
for us yesterday that
The
has
choreographed.
the music video, Bollywood.
Ah,
I guess I
yeah.
was imagining more of these two people
Yeah.
in collusion, possibly
Well,
against a government.
What happens in the rest of the
I
film?
with the bee. I don't know. I don't know.
I think
I think your idea is interesting, like to be a people that is actually free, but just decides to live life under risking something.
It's a psychological acting out of some sort of. It may not be. It's like a parallel of something else that they're trying to resolve, and so it's a psychological acting out that kind of reflects some other internal crisis that they're having.
I
about
think
this
at
idea.
one point there must be a connection, whether the risk, the challenge to be attracted by the clandestinity,
Yeah.
or to be curious of being part of something, or to be interested in searching something, makes put them in the same process, because otherwise they stay separate.
Two separate. Yeah.
And by joining them for some reason, already there is a sort of possible fiction starting.
Yeah.
Not fiction, narration. Possible, huh?
Yeah.
And I think the word risk is important, because the risk is the risk to fail, of course. Also in placing two individual or two situations together, but the risk is the condition, or the risky situation is interesting in narration. That someone is risking something,
Yeah.
whether it is there or there, it's necessary, I think.
It's It's, are they going to remain passive, or are they going to take the risk and risk
Yeah.
something?
Even for us,
Yeah.
to take the risk to say, okay, let's join them and see if that risk bring them together, or oppose them,
Yeah.
but in the same movement, I think. I like the word is like the word that give us a chance to put together everything. You
Yeah.
know?
It gives it some tension.
Yeah.
Things start gelling
Yeah.
together, having tension.
It also gives us, not you because you weren't there, but a very direct connection to Silver's
Yeah, yeah,
Talking
Yeah,
exactly.
I was
from-
thinking
from
about
Yeah.
it.
Direct.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
about the secret and
the secret, but also more
The challenge.
that this idea of symbolic exchange, that what he was talking about, that or that Baudrillard was talking about, that most people are already dead. If you are not able, willing to risk your life,
Then you're already dead.
then you're already dead. So just a way that some of the ways that we try to exit mundane reality are to place our lives or what we find congruent with our lives at risk.
It's a heavy question.
It is, but we spent 3 days with it, so I thought it was a nice connection
It
to
actually
what I
fits
went.
in really nice.
it,
must
it
be.
looks a little bit extreme saying that, but
I don't think it's extreme at all.
well, I know that
I mean, if you
Especially to a French woman. I don't think it's extreme.
no, that's not.
And I'm not joking. I mean,
That's not what I mean. I just, if you're kind of going along and nothing actually matters,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
or
What's
you,
the-
you are attracted by something that is actually makes you feel like, okay, I could lose something here.
well, and after 3 days,
Which
it's still
means
there. It's impossible.
That you find out that there's something. Yeah.
And it's not a death wish. It's a
Sometimes,
challenge to be alive.
yeah,
Yeah.
but the challenge to be alive, I think, sometimes could be unaware. There could be an unawareness
Mhm.
of risking my life. I could risk my small, what I possess, you know. But to be conscious every day that by doing certain choice, I'm ready to risk my life. It's not an everyday thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I'm risking to be in my life. I'm risking every day to be ridiculous, every day to make the wrong choice in my work, every day to miss the point. That's like the beginning of a script. I can, let's say, in 2 months' time say, no, this is completely, it leads me nowhere, you know. And then 6 months later realize, yes, there was something there, but I haven't, not. So that's the risk. The risk of to train hopping, to be able to risk my life, to feel alive, as if I need that adrenaline in my blood to feel alive, is something, even when I was very young, I couldn't take every day. As a very, even, I didn't want to be blasé also, you know.
that's what I meant about extreme. I think Baudrillard said in this way, but he really didn't mean that we have to take the risk of
No,
our life every day to
of
be
course
alive.
not.
Putting things on the line. Like,
Yes,
like
putting things on the line, not to.
when it's.
Not,
Sorry.
no, we don't have to risk your life. Just little things we can do it.
No, but it's an interesting thing because
For example,
I remember Gus Van Sant's film about those kids on and they go to the train station at night, you know.
Which film are you talking about?
Gus Van Sant.
The Gus Van Sant, his last film, with a little boy roller skating.
I haven't seen that one. That's one I saw.
I didn't see.
Are you sure it's been released?
It might not have been
I've
released.
seen, yeah, in the States I don't know, but
Yeah,
in
it might
France
not
it's been released.
Okay. I don't know if it's been released.
It's
yet.
it's about kids going every day to the,
Half pipes?
yeah,
Skate park.
and at night they do train hopping, and the watcher, the guard, is killed because of them, because he tried to catch them,
Yeah.
to send them off, and he's cut in two by a train coming. And one of the child, the story is like said backward, is guiltiness that make him taking more risk and more risk with himself, just to erase the guiltiness, to put his life at risk every day.
Mm.
It's a good film.
I haven't, I like his stuff, but I haven't seen it yet.
Mm-hmm. So but I think that the movement was not the half pipe, or the movement in the film that is interesting is that the risk was not even the movement. The risk was the material of the film, and what gives the movement of the film is the feeling of guiltiness. The guiltiness moves the character to one place to another, not the risk.
Yeah.
Because the risk, if it moves someone to obtain something, like a lot of adrenaline in his blood, or because he's a stuntman or a stuntwoman, or because those guys who climb buildings, just to get sort of things that. But it's a movement straight. It's you take the risk to obtain something. Guiltiness is a movement more complex.
Yeah, it's complicated. And that's
And it's
interesting.
more interesting in a way,
Yeah.
for a narration.
Mm.
It's like a train, so guiltiness, it's take you to one place to another.
Mm.
I think about because we've been talking about a lot about immigrants and training, the guilt that we have, say somebody asks for change, or they ask for, or in the train they ask to, use your ticket, or for you to help them in some small way. How often we're willing to go so far, just a little bit. We want to be generous and kind, but to really suddenly put yourself, to really take that person seriously, suddenly your life could be, turned upside down. Completely could change if you really.
When you were mentioning that scene, your vision from your loft of the train at night, and you mentioned traveling with no ticket, I thought maybe there could be a guiltiness of being in a warm place and seeing people crossing the track with plastic bags, or hiding under the train, on the others. And I saw that the same person hiding there could find out one night the loft is empty, there is no more light, the guy is not there, and trying to break and entering, But this is pure fiction, of course,
There's a film, and I've been trying to remember it for the last, 24 hours or whatever, that is almost this story. It's maybe somebody's seen it and can tell me the name, but it's set in New York, and it's a couple of immigrants who somehow are rented an apartment that actually belongs to somebody
I
else.
just saw that on TV.
You saw it?
It was on BBC in the middle of the night, and I don't know what it is, but I know what movie
Right,
you're talking about.
but they're in this apartment,
Yeah.
and then by chance one of them gets caught in the subway without a ticket, and finally the man who owns the apartment at first is completely disoriented and very angry that they're there, but he also ends up helping them
Yeah.
with this whole immigration and prison
And
system.
is
in
it
New
the
York.
woman doesn't like the man
Yeah.
and the guy?
I can't remember.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm trying to find it because it's a
Yeah, I just saw it. It's really funny.
Yeah,
But I
it's-
didn't catch the title because
yeah.
I started watching like 3/4 or the third of the way in, so I missed the.
I wouldn't call it
But
funny.
a story like that is answering what you say, that the guiltiness, this general feeling of guiltiness, brings a lot of film to soothe the guiltiness by
Yeah.
creating characters that solve the problem, or 2 or 3 people, you know. Therefore,
It's
I suspect something I would rather like to take the risk of not be too compassionate, and to take the risk to be guilty and to do with it for a while.
it's like somebody who can't make a good documentary makes a film like that. It seems.
I think it's interesting because you have like the white guilt kind of thing, and that's gonna solve a problem. He's gonna feel good about himself because he does it, and that's not that interesting in a lot of ways. I think it might be more interesting if the person isn't as altruistic as they seem. Like they have some back reason that they're trying to assuage something that they. You know what I mean? Like they shouldn't be purely altruistic. 'Cause that's
Sure,
not
or it could be an
everyone-
accident that they even got involved in
Or,
the
yeah, yeah.
situation, and then it could go really badly. I mean, it doesn't have to be,
Yeah.
No.
you know, it could be a disaster for everyone. I don't know.
Yeah.
Probably, you know, it doesn't have to be. They feel better, and they become friends. And,
No,
exactly. It
I
doesn't have to result.
think
or maybe it wasn't guilt that motivated them. Yeah, right, as you're saying, maybe it was fear.
fiction, there is a high demand for fiction to be soothing.
Yeah.
There is not a great demand for fiction to put acid on the guts, you know? No, certainly not, you know? But it's always interesting in a process of work to keep the acidity working. You see what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
Whether it's documentary or fiction. But fiction is more fragile because fiction could be, is flexible. You know? Fiction is so flexible. You say, oh no, please, and in the end it should be. No. In the end, fiction is a very flexible medium.
Did you see the movie Black Hawk Down by
Sure.
Ridley Scott?
Sure, I saw it.
So, was that soothing? Or, what's your
I would
take
say
on
it was shrewd.
it? Was
Shrewd.
Shrewd, okay.
Slightly cunning, for me. Huh? Because the situation of Somalia is so vast that suddenly the film, I was uneasy. I sort of appreciate to be, I was not against what he intended to do, but I think in the end the result was still bad for Somalia. I don't ask the film to be compassionate with Somalian people, but there was something strange for me in the Black Hawk. thing, you know.
I just asked because it's a situation of fiction that is real, and it came out at a very unique time for the United States. It came out right after September 11th, but it was already in progress, and I think in a certain way it relates to your films, in the way that you have to, it's this kind of line between fiction and reality, documentary and narrative, that is very interesting to me. And it's interesting about your work.
I was wondering where was the risk when I saw that film, to use the same word, you know?
For Ridley Scott?
For the project itself, you know?
Yeah.
They got Black Hawks from the army. I mean, the they did in Morocco, I don't know, there was something weird for me, you know? A sort of risky story made with no risk or something like that, you know?
Yeah.
I'm not sure my English is fine enough to describe this kind of compromise.
Compromise.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting because it is a fiction, well, a narrative that's based on life. Essentially, our reaction to the film comes down to this representation of reality. And I mean, I think that's what you're focusing on here. You're the risk without risk. Oh, there's the production without risk. There is nothing at stake. I mean, it's like it was so in the past at that point. It was almost 10 years. It was 8 years after it happened. It was so far removed from our national psyche in the States. Nobody remembered it. And unfortunately, the problem with it is that it's what caused, or not, it didn't cause, but it relates to what happened in Rwanda and why we didn't intervene more quickly or at all.
In Rwanda?
Rwanda. Because, you know, Black Hawk Down was 1993, and Rwanda was 1994. And Bill Clinton already lost these 20 guys, and then there's 900,000
I never
people.
thought there was a connection between what happened in Somalia and Rwanda, but maybe
But there is. It's too complicated to discuss here, but it's about what you're saying. Like, it's this, the project with no risk. It's Ridley Scott really wasn't risking anything, but it was a good story. It was a good book, like Mark Bowden wrote. And it caused this project that made a lot of money, you know? And, I don't know, I think it's a fascinating film. Well, really the circumstances around it.
But I mean,
maybe tomorrow we should screen it. Maybe we can find it on internet and
Oh,
discuss.
exactly. Or even just a piece of it. It's
Piece of it,
relentless.
no. I would suggest no, because it's very sharp. If you see a clip of Black Hawk, no, you.
It's like relentless. It's
No, but the clip is it's not fair with a film like that. You know?
well, I can try to get it for us.
But I mean, no, I think what I mean with risk is it's a difficult thing. There was a sort of film critic in France, André Bazin, that was a sort of mentor of Nouvelle Vague, would say that if you want to shoot a story about a wild, to be a guy or a woman in danger with a wild lion, if you have always the character and the wild lion in two different shots, and it's only editing, put them together, close together, only by editing. In the end, something is not as terrifying as if you take the risk to have them once in the same shot, at least once, which means that there is the risk of being beaten to death, and it means the character and the lion or the panther in the same shot mean also that the cameraman and his assistant are in the same space. And I think it's fun to think about that, because cinema is completely fake. It's made of editing, of green back and stuff, and yet somehow
It's still
there is a need of a little bit of not reality but of risk.
Yeah.
I think.
So you think putting bullets in a gun, like real bullets?
No. You can put easily real bullets if you shoot at nothing, you know.
Well, yeah.
But if you are in the same sequence shot, human beings and gun with real bullets, there is a danger. No, I don't think I will take that danger.
Sometimes it's your location choice.
Yeah.
Like if they filmed Black Hawk Down in Somalia and not Morocco.
Yeah, probably it was impossible in Somalia.
Of course.
But
But it would change the reality. And it would have.
mhm.
There's a certain tension that would be there just naturally that's not there by having the two.
I think when I
parts.
did Beau Travail, I was not welcome, and everybody stopped me to do the film in Djibouti, and in the end we had no permission, and we did the film, and I told to the producer, because we are here now, if the worst came to the worst, I promise to you I will finish the film in my hotel room. Huh? I will invent something in the hotel.
Yeah.
And the film was not a dangerous story. We had no risk of anything, but we were risking a lot every day by going out on location and with our equipment.
Yeah.
The risk that the army was coming and arrest us, and one day we had our set destroyed by the army, you know, things like that. But it was slightly risky, not very dangerous, but slightly risky because the film, of course, is costing money. And I was afraid every day, you know, terribly afraid, not to lose my life, but to put the producer ruin him, you know. All his money is lost, you know. And I have to tell you, I felt there was some day where I should have thought maybe I would prefer to die than to think I am responsible for that guy money. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
With 15 actors, camera equipment, electric equipment, and a crew, I felt really responsible, and I would prefer to risk my life in a way, you know, than to risk his bank account.
Somebody else's, because you can.
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
for
yeah,
you.
yeah.
You can risk your life, but you're risking for somebody else.
But it's very abstract.
Yeah.
When I was in the middle of the night, not sleeping, I said, I will give my life for this to stop, you know. But I don't think in the end I will give my life.
Well, yeah,
Yes.
yeah. But that's interesting.
Did it affect how you conceptualized location scouting in the future, or even on that project?
No, it happened. I thought it was easy to shoot there, and people told me it's not easy because it's too hot. I said, great, you know, this is a risk we can take.
Yeah.
Hot.
Yeah. That's fun.
And then then come the opposal of the army, and suddenly every single move toward permission was blocked by the army. So suddenly there was I felt I'm not brave, but I felt I could not understand why they didn't want the film to exist. I felt their reason were weak. And I'm not a brave person, but then I decide, okay, then it's interesting to see if we can make a film, and then understand why they are so against, you know. It's not out of braveness, it was just out of curiosity, you know. I wanted to take that risk, but then when we start shooting and my actors were received menace, and then I started being afraid. Then the challenge was not there anymore. It was not just to finish the film, you know. But at the beginning, it was just challenging to oppose the army. I didn't thought I was risking anything. I thought it was like in the past to be afraid in the army. I said, what is it today to be afraid of the army? It's a joke, you know.
What do they have
It
to hide?
depends on where you are.
No, of course it depends. I would have been a Djiboutian. No. But being French, I said no. I can take that risk. I'm not afraid of army.
Did you send the army the film?
Oh, they come. Yes, they come to the first screening. They were all there, you know, standing.
The first screening was there in Djibouti.
No, in Paris.
Okay, forgive
The
me.
French army was against the film, not the Djiboutian army.
Yeah.
The Djiboutian army was
Oh, so
is very poor
Djibouti is a
and,
city in a French
and
colony.
very.
A former?
It's a country.
Former French
A
colony?
former?
No, it's not a colony. It's Djibouti is in the Gulf, is facing Saudi, and therefore is hired, rented by American and French army as a base not too far where they can train.
Okay.
In the not too far from Iraq at that time, you know. I was not aware of that because I didn't know.
What
There had been one war in Iraq. I didn't know there was going to be a second one, you know.
What year?
We did 1 year before the second.
2002.
Huh?
2002.
Yeah, I think it was 2000. But I don't know.
Yeah,
Something like that. I don't have my geography, but it was before. Of course, I thought those guys, they are training there, they are well fed, suntan, and they're going to stop me, you know? No way. And I followed Djiboutian people who were helping me with that. One truck, one tent, you know. We needed a piece of wood to make a coffin. We needed a coffin for the film. And because there is, Djibouti is the desert, so if you want to make a coffin, you have to import the wood. And it's the army who's importing woods for coffins. Strange, huh? So they said no. So we went to Ethiopia, we bring plywood and we build a coffin. Can you imagine that? At that time it was fun, you know. Then we start shooting and then the risk for the producer was big, so it was no more fun for me.
Yeah.
Well, but it also becomes really a risk for you. Because if it does fail, it's not only that he loses money, it's a risk for the rest of your career if you have that large of a failure.
Well, plus someone that you know.
You don't think?
It's a risk for you just
I
because
was not thinking of the risk for me. My risk was that that the actor would be beaten up by Marines or by French legionnaires, or the
Yeah, you had just mentioned before that you were worried for the producer's money. So
and the producer. I thought not of me, because I thought there would be a sort of heroic gesture, a system of shooting in Djibouti.
Yeah.
I would be always a sort of victim of the army, you know.
Yeah.
I think I was not
Yeah. For sure.
really risking too much,
Mhm. Yeah.
but I was full of fears. Yeah, it's true every day. Mm.